Sales companies that plague consumers with silent phone calls could be fined £50,000 under new measures outlined by the communications regulator. It's one of several new regulations put forward by Ofcom, which wants companies to leave recorded messages stating who they are and why they've called. Silent calls happen when companies use automatic dialing machines to ring several people, but then only speak to the one who answers first. There's the main stories from me. Back to Bill and Sean.
Maura, thank you very much.
In a few minutes here on Breakfast, the high price of silence, new developments in the campaign against silent calls from sales companies.
You hate them.
Oh, it's the bête noire, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. We're going to be speaking to a man who, a one-man campaign actually, terrific, wasn't it? That he waged against the silent callers, and he's managed to get Ofcom to actually do something. There will be heavy fines. Find out all about it coming up after the sport.
From our own bête noire, Chris Hollis.
Oh, thank you very much indeed.
Well,
no, that's a great introduction. Thank you.
And he's here. David, good morning. Well, congratulations. Are you satisfied?
For now, yes, absolutely.
OK. Remind us then of why you have been, or how you have been victorious. What's been decided?
Ofcom has for some time had a statement of policy saying that silent calls are not allowed and it will take action against those making them. It is only really from yesterday, with its announcement and its action against a number of companies, that it has now actually put this into practice.
And that action being?
It has required various companies that it has identified and investigated to forthwith cease making silent calls. If they fail to do that, which is all we want them to do. We don't want them punished, we want them to stop doing it. If they fail to do that, they will be liable to quite severe sanctions, including fines now of up to £50,000.
So finally, the people who are doing this are getting nailed?
Absolutely.
Including the company that first started ringing you, which started this whole business a couple of years ago?
Absolutely right. The first company that was investigated was Kitchens Direct. Ofcom has been playing with this company for some time, but has now got it to come totally into compliance. No more silent calls from Kitchens Direct. That's wonderful.
Now, does this deal with silent calls from within the UK only, or will it, they can't touch people who do it from abroad, can they?
They can't touch people who are totally from abroad, but if a UK company uses an overseas agency to make the calls, they can still be tackled by Ofcom in exactly the same way. So putting the work offshore is no answer to this. They've got to stop making silent calls from here or from abroad.
So are you entirely satisfied? Is this the cure?
This is Ofcom taking on board that it must do its job. There will always be rule breakers, there will always be people who try to cheat the system, but Ofcom have at least now said they will take action against them, whereas previously they've been very watery on that
Very
subject.
quickly then, if somebody gets a silent call today, what do?
Hang on for the moment. It'll take them a few days or maybe weeks to get in line, but complain to Ofcom. Ofcom have the power to take action.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. I'm glad you said that, because we're already getting text messages from people saying, I get silent calls, how do I stop them? Complain to Ofcom, but it might take a little while because there'll be a big backlog, won't there?
All right.
The industry will take a while.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks very much, David. Now we're going to talk about an issue which really, really upsets hundreds of you. It is... There's nothing there. Silence. How many times have you answered the phone to be greeted by that? We know hundreds of you have experienced it because you have contacted us before and today to complain and express your annoyance.
It's often the fault of marketing companies who use automated dialing machines to ring several numbers at once, and then they only speak to the person who answers first. Well, Breakfast has been following David Hickson's campaign against such calls, and today he is celebrating victory. And he's with us now. David, good morning. Victory because these people are finally going to get nailed hard.
By Ofcom. At last, Ofcom are going to do what they perhaps should have been doing for the last 2 years.
So you're satisfied?
They're going to start taking action. Obviously, we'll see over time how effective that is, but I am satisfied that Ofcom are now going to do the job.
Right. Although some concerns for some of our viewers about how this is going to work. Jim Dixon from Lincolnshire says, how can anyone stop calls which leave no numbers? Well, the silent calls he gets shows number withheld or unavailable.
The first thing that's going to happen, at the present, the industry thinks it's okay to make these calls up to a certain percentage. That's the first nonsense that's been dealt with by Ofcom. Ofcom have clearly said today that big companies, reputable companies who are doing this, must now stop. Then it will be a matter of getting hold of those who perhaps will remain doing it, using the resources of the telecommunications companies to trace them. They can do things, and there are other investigative ways that can be used.
Well, so in Jim's case, what can he do?
What I did, because I was very annoyed by this, I had my telephone company put a trace on my line, and even though the number was withheld from me, the telephone company could trace the identity of the caller. They passed that information to Ofcom, and that's how Kitchens Direct, the company who were first investigated, were identified.
So it will take a bit of work, and you have to get in touch with the phone company.
But if they're doing it a lot, there'll perhaps be one or two people dotted around like me who will be prepared to make that effort. I had 2 silent calls from Kitchens Direct that I could identify. Ofcom's investigation found 1.5 million.
Right.
So, it only takes a small number of people to put that bit of effort in, and that can make an enormous difference.
Jason in Leicester says his household gets about a dozen silent calls a month, and they're signed up to the telephone preference service. So how's that happening?
It could be that people are simply disregarding the telephone preference service. There are questions about how well that is enforced. That's a quite separate issue. But there are questions about how well that's enforced. Or it could be they're being called by people who can still call them. Companies with whom you do business don't have to respect the fact that you're on the telephone preference service.
OK, and people want to know what to do. Get in touch with Ofcom.
Ofcom now are going to use the powers that they have to stop people making silent calls. They're the people to contact.
Great stuff, David. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, yes. Well done you. Loads and loads of emails on this, as you would expect. You read some out. Reverend Wright, please could you explain how you identify the silent caller when 1471 gives no detail of who they are? We've just heard get in contact with the same company or with Ofcom as well, although there may well be a wait.
Patrick Newburn says, as a business that promotes sales jobs to sales professionals, we welcome the changes in the law to reduce the silent calls menace, because sales professionals wouldn't work for companies that do this.
And B. Cunningham in Northern Ireland, you're nodding away there, you're listening to all these nodding, absolutely. I get silent calls regularly. It's really worrying. They leave a message because I've stopped answering the phone to numbers I don't recognise, and the message is just background noise. I'm concerned and frightened. That's the thing, isn't it? It just worries people. It is alarming. I really hope these are just sales calls. What can I do and how can I find out? Well, I do hope you've had some of the answers, Mr. Cunningham or Miss, to your questions. Are we putting this on our website? I think we are. Well, we are now.
You know what I do?
What do you do?
Somebody told me if you press the hash key several times when you get one of them, it does something. In fact, David says it does nothing at all.
Yeah.
Makes you feel better, though.
No.
It does, because you get that noise. You go, me, 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 me. Yeah, that'll sort you out, computer.
But it doesn't. Anyway, you know how you can sort them out. Do get in touch with us all the usual ways. Let's put the addresses at the bottom of the screen. Breakfast, well, you know, it is text message. I've been here so long and I still can't remember it, as you know.
07736 100 100. Quickly, to
Paddy.
business, the non-silent Paddy.
I've never learned so much about telephones, Sean, listening to you. You've got a day job.